It's a selfie. That's a selfie.
It's a selfie?
Yeah, that's a selfie.
And you just fix this?
Yeah, because they have a screw on the bottom, so you screw this in there, and I bought this. I put together. They're not sell on the market.
It's a set, right?
Yeah.
I do too.
Are they supposed to be together, or you just do it your own?
I do my own. This one's my own design.
Oh,
You see, I can take it out, yeah.
that's cool.
So I can put it back because otherwise you can't do anything. So right here is live stream right now.
Yeah. That's good.
So this one is a selfie. The one is selfie, but I didn't use it. I got a screw. I got this part, come on, and this one is part of it. That's all.
Cool. Wonder if I can buy somewhere.
You can buy separately and put together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Personally, taking pictures and do all that, you should.
Okay, welcome back.
I guess I did Fairfax.
Welcome back. Okay, so the last speech that you watched was really a documented demon possession. I'm going to guess he was probably nervous before he started, and it didn't get better, right? So he allowed a lot of negative energy to consume him. We don't want that to happen to you. We want happy speeches. So turning negative energy into positive energy is a habit. Learn to do it. When you're giving a public talk, just say, I feel a little nervous. Oh, what did Rick tell me? Oh, yeah, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try to turn my negative energy into positive energy. Lighten up, enjoy yourself. Be yourself. People, I learned this on Sesame Street, but I think it's true, that when you are yourself, people like yourself most.
Right.
Right? You just be yourself. Don't take yourself too seriously. And one thing that helps me is I remember how grateful I am. God has given me this opportunity to speak to these people today, and that is a miracle to me. That's amazing. And so I'm so grateful. So I don't want to waste anybody's time, and I want to fulfill whatever God's purpose is for me to do that. So I'm going to give it my best. I'm going to do the best I can. So think about that. How can you give the best? You owe it to not only yourself, you owe it to your audience. Your audience deserves your best. So be your best. A friend of mine is a stage actor, and he and I were in a conversation when we were actually waiting for somebody. I just started talking about what is it like to be a stage actor, and really the techniques that actors use. It was all interesting to me. And we got this long conversation about performance. And what he described in what actors do, different actors have different methods, but in general, an actor is someone who is trained to turn on certain emotions that pertain to the part that they're playing. And most often, they're actually reliving a personal experience that they have. In other words, they're attaching an event in their life, an emotion, to the character that they're playing in the play or on television, so they can live it out. They can live out what that feels like, and then they can shut it off. Some can't. That leads to lots of problems. But so people like Dustin Hoffman is a character actor. He would go into deep studies of characters. Who's the guy who plays Lincoln? You remember the movie Lincoln? It was quite good.
Yeah, I forgot his name. He's in English.
Yeah.
I forgot.
He's a character actor, meaning he will go into deep character for weeks. He is Lincoln. He's not going to move from being Lincoln. Most actors don't like that. But I said to him, that's what I want my politicians to do. That's what I want my people to turn it on. And in fact, they actually do that. So politicians, in a sense, are actors. Why? Why do I say that? Well, because they go to the drugstore in the middle of the night to get medicine for their spouse, and somebody's there and they recognize them. Oh, you're Congressman so-and-so. Well, yes, I am. It's so nice to meet you. Here you are, tired, middle of the night, you're dragging, like you get this medicine, it's awful, and then all of a sudden you're just like, you're performing. Look at that. You have the ability to do that. And politicians have to be able to do that. In fact, I was in a class one time, and one of my students says, well, what if you need to give a speech or go on television and you're really tired? And I said, if you have to ask that question, you are in the wrong business. Because in the political world, you don't know where your next meal is coming from. You don't know whether you're going to arrive next event on, like everything is going to go wrong at some point or another. And then you're going to ask to go on camera, if you're lucky, or deliver a speech. There's no room for being tired. You have to be able to deliver. You have to be able to perform. And it means you must summon the energy and the emotion and the performance. And it is not acting in the sense that you're pretending to be somebody else. It is acting in the sense that I can deliver my best self on demand. That's what a performer does. I was heartened when I was giving this precise point in the lecture when a gentleman raised his hand, and it turned out that he was a professionally trained opera singer. He was a tenor. And he stood up and he said, listen to Rick, I am a stage performer, and what he is telling you is correct. That this is exactly what we do. And that's what good speech makers, politicians, they do. They learn, they take their, artists call it their craft. We have a craft, and our craft is public speaking and communication. We take our craft seriously. And we deliver ourselves seriously. We put ourselves on the line. We make ourselves vulnerable to our audience every time we get in front of them. They deserve your best, give them your best. Learn how to be your best. So that's how you get to be a great speaker, is by being your best self. But you must learn to summon the energy and train yourself into delivering yourself, and to take that aspect of it. Not take yourself too seriously, but take the aspect of the craft seriously.
Right.
So this guy, I've had this guy in my class before. He's a real downer. So when you're giving a speech, particularly political speech, we've all seen, the gratuitous thank yous at the beginning. Oh, thank you for coming, thank you for coming. Like, get rid of all that, right? Let the host do that. If you really want to thank somebody in your speech, thank them in your speech. Wow, you actually mention them in your speech. Not at the beginning of the speech where everybody expects is perfunctory. Don't lose the opportunity to be provocative at the beginning of your speech, right? To engage people. People will forget that you forgot to mention them. They'll be much more interested if you deliver a very good speech. I'm not asking you, and I'm not training you here to memorize speeches. You can memorize, if you can memorize a speech, God bless you, that's great. So there's reading a speech, there's reading a teleprompter, there's memorizing a speech, and there's working off of notes, right? Yeah. For the most part, I would encourage people who don't have a lot of experience public speaking to work off of notes. Because to read a speech effectively actually takes training, right? It takes a lot of practice to be able to read a speech and not sound like you're reading. That takes skill. It takes skill to use a teleprompter correctly. Bill Clinton was actually a masterful speech giver. When he was giving a State of the Union address, his teleprompter broke down for nearly 9 minutes. Nobody knew. That's remarkable. Say what you want about Bill Clinton, the guy could talk. All the world is watching. All their eyes are on you. Teleprompter's broken, and you deliver. That's what I'm talking about. Deliver. Pretty remarkable. But at least try to memorize your greeting. In other words, give a greeting without looking down. And in particular, when you're giving your greeting, your provocative talk, when you look at your notes, it's a little bit discounting, like, oh, you forgot what he was going to talk. Like, it's okay during the middle of the speech to look down, but at the beginning, try to just deliver the speech from memory, right? You can do that. And as I say, it's okay to glance through your notes. Just don't be reading your notes the entire time, but stay organized so you can figure out where you are. Sean Hannity speaks. He always carries a pen. Did you ever notice that? He never lets go. He's like the Bob Dole of, he's got the pen in the other hand, right? But he checks off. You can see it almost dramatically. I said that. And then we move on to the next point, and then he checks that off, right? That's just his style. It works well for him. Okay, more bad speeches. I love bad speeches.
Can you turn down the volume up and listen?
Let's see.
Thank you, Anna Perna, our great director, Adam McKay, Christian Bale. What a
Right, can you turn something over?
Plan B, Gary Sanchez.
Oh no, that's no plan B. No plan B.
And our fellow nominees from the UK and Sweden. Thank you.
Christian Bale, you're fantastic. You're so great to work with and create with and everything. Thank you.
David Adams, thank you for bringing us up to your level of commitment. Sam Rockwell and the 150 other SAG members. Great job. Susan Matheson.
Jeff Waxman and Jennifer Matlock.
Our DP, Greg Fraser, our scripting Kate.
All right.
Anne Williams, Jamie Pillman, Adrian Moreau, Leslie Walford, Christina Waltz.
Chris Gallagher.
And it's still going on.
Eric Warren, Ronnie Lane.
Like commercial break.
Oscar.
Oscar.
Don't you love how the left loves to embarrass itself? They always give themselves awards. You ever notice that? They're giving themselves awards. Like, oh my goodness, look, they're awarding themselves again. Isn't that wonderful? More awards for them. Who awarded them? Well, themselves.
Self-nominate, self-award.
I nominate myself. Well, I should probably do that. You nominate me. Thank you, I accept. All right. First thing, get the audience's attention. Be committed and passionate about your topic, what you're going to talk about. It really comes through. Know your audience, know why and who it's going to matter to. Be able to articulate the solution and its benefits. This is particularly true in the political world. We often say things that we think everybody understands the benefit of what we're describing. Even when we say, I want to lower your taxes, do you know that most people don't convert that into, oh, that means more money for me? Like, you actually have to spell it out, right? Like, cutting your taxes sort of like why do I want to cut your taxes? So you and your family have more money to spend on your family, your home, your business, your life, your hobbies, your vacations, your children's education. That's why I want to lower your taxes. Not just to lower taxes, but you really have to spell out the benefits and what it means to people. They don't get it, right? So, any salespeople or anybody in sales? Yeah, sales. And so what we have in sales, we have something called a feature benefit, right? You know, the feature is a characteristic of a product that nobody cares about until they ask, and then you're delighted to tell them your product knowledge. What they care about are the benefits of the product, okay? So if a vacuum cleaner has a 15 amp motor and the other vacuum cleaner has a 12 amp motor, and I said, you really should get the 15 amp motor. Do you think that's meaningful to most people?
No.
It is if you're an electrician. Because if you are an electrician, you know that a 15 amp motor is what over a 12 amp motor? It's more powerful, which means it spins faster, which means it creates more suction, which means it pulls the dirt out of the... So what does it mean? It means less time vacuuming, cleaner rugs. Now I'm sold. Less time vacuuming. What's the vacuum? Less time vacuuming and cleaner rugs? Give me the 15 amp motor, right? But if you just talk about features, people don't understand. So we always talk about benefits. And remember, every public policy has a victim. You know, the left always talks about the victims of the right's policies. You ever notice that no one really talks about the left's victims? We don't even talk about the left's victims. Like, who are the victims of the left's policies? They have victims all over the place.
We do now.
What's that?
We're doing it now, saying all the victims of New York's
all the residents of New York City.
Absolutely. Their public policies and crime cost people their lives in their apartment buildings. Right? But no, they just gloss it over. Well, that's not really our fault. Oh, but yeah, because you're not accountable to your stupid ideas. Right? But we have to always point out the victims of socialist. In fact, more people died of socialism in the 19th century than the 20th century, like than all in human history. Those were policy-driven ideas. The intellectuals, they all thought that stuff up. Were they held accountable? No. Okay. So describe the negative outcome of what it is that you're opposing, and make sure, as we were just talking about, that your opponent holds the burden of their position. I'm for cleaning up the park. If you think the park is for drug dealers, pimps, and prostitutes, well, don't vote for me. Vote for my opponent, because he would love to maintain it for the drug dealers, pimps, and prostitutes. And the homeless, they want to live there too. I think parks should be a public place where you can take your children and feel safe. And if you like public parks where children feel safe, and you feel safe taking your children to the park, then you should vote for me. However, if you like crime-ridden parks, that's fine. I'm not the crime-ridden park candidate, sadly, but my opponent is. You have someone to vote for right there, okay? See how I did that? Okay, so burden of their position. Checklists. So you want to be likable, comfortable. It is important to be likable, which is why your first impression, your opening statement is really important, and your body language, right? So I'll give you an example. I'm coming on stage to give my speech. Does this thing work? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Am I making a great impression so far?
No.
Yeah, you know who used to come on stage, really? I loved watching him come on stage. George W. Bush. Like, the guy was like unbelievable. I'll do my George W. Bush.
Hopping.
Boom, right? Ready to go, right? Body language. It's really important. So establish right away who you are. Let people communicate that you're going to be respectful, optimistic, straightforward, upbeat, clear, intentional. You're going to be able to bring the energy to the speech, lighten up, smile, laugh easily, show you care, show your commitment, and show your intensity, but not like that other guy. I talked about this already, but I'll just reiterate quickly here. Tell stories because they stick in people's minds. People can remember stories, they're relatable, and they relate them back to their own stories, they're memorable, and they make important points about public policy, whereas statistics don't. Because statistics don't talk about people, real live human beings with emotions and feelings and families. Stories do. So make sure you incorporate stories about real people into your presentation. And stories that, and you can tell stories and you can put things in your speeches that tell people who you are. So I'm working with a candidate and he wants to talk about guns all the time, right? I love guns, so I'll talk about it all day long, right? But half of his district, because he lives in one of these split personality districts, they don't want to talk about guns. And if he's going to win, he probably shouldn't be talking about guns. But he wants his base to know that he is pro-Second Amendment, okay? So you do simple things. Like, you don't have to talk about the gun the whole speech. Just say, I was at the range the other day and I was talking to my friend. What did I just say in that little clip?
You're a gun owner.
I'm a shooter. Yeah. Go to the range. I mean, I've given it all away. Right? Well, he goes to the range. He must own a gun. He's probably pro-gun. Okay. All I said was, I was at the range the other day. Right? Simple. Now, if you're in another district, and the way I look at it is, if you actually, your bona fides on the Second Amendment are questionable, then you probably need to talk about the Second Amendment a lot. But if you're a gun owner and you just mention little things like that, people say, oh, got it, he's a gun owner. Okay, got it. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. This is a sabotage. I know this because Ryan put this in there to sabotage me.
Let me express my deepest gratitude for the privilege of addressing this convention Tonight is a particular honor for me because, let's face it, my presence on this stage is pretty unlikely. My father was a foreign student, born and raised in a small village in Kenya. He grew up herding goats, went to school in a tin roof shed. His father, my grandfather, was a cook, a domestic servant to the British. But my grandfather had larger dreams for his son. Through hard work and perseverance, my father got a scholarship to study in a magical place, America, that shone as a beacon of freedom and opportunity to so many who had come before. While studying here, my father met my mother. She was born in a town on the other side of the world, in Kansas. Her father worked on oil rigs and farms through most of the Depression. The day after Pearl Harbor, my
What's he doing? This is 2004 Democratic Convention. He's not president. He's going to run for president.
Stories of family.
What is he doing in this speech?
Humanizing himself.
Yeah. He's just telling you a story about himself. He's introducing himself to a national audience. Huge opportunity. And apparently knocked it out of the park because he ain't president. So I use that as an example, and it is a good example of how to humanize yourself or make yourself likable, appealing to a group of people, and he was able to do that. I've talked about body language, so communication without words, very important. And one more rate.
For a question to President Reagan. Mr. President, I want to raise an issue that I think has been working out there for 2 or 3 weeks and cast it specifically in national security terms. You already are the oldest president in history, and some of your staff say you were tired after your most recent encounter with Mr. Mondale. I recall yet that President Kennedy had to go for days on end with very little sleep during the Cuba Missile Crisis. Is there any doubt in your mind that you would be able to function in such circumstances?
Not at all, Mr. Truitt, and I want you to know that also I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience.
Okay, you've all seen that before, right?
Yes.
Did you notice what Walter Mondale did?
Mr. Internet.
He held his head up and he laughed. He took the punch like a champion. And now, do you think Reagan just made that up out of his head while he was standing there? No. Preparation. Reagan knew exactly what he wanted to say. And there's a similar one on the other side where Lloyd Benson, right, is against Dan Quayle. And Dan Quayle, so Lloyd Benson had this line that says, Senator, I knew Jack Kennedy. Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy. Now, he delivered it like that. Like he waited. Now, do you think he made that up out of his head? Like right there? No. Well, how did he know that Dan Quayle was going to compare himself to Jack Kennedy? Do you know how he knew that? Because he's been doing it for weeks. This is what's amazing in debate. Like, how do you know what they're going to say? Because they're going to say what they always say. You have to just study a politician. He'll tell you what he's going to say. He's going to say everything in the debate that he's been saying on the campaign trail. So they studied Quayle on the campaign trail. Do you know what Quayle did after he got brutalized?
Mr. Potato.
Because he looked up, Senator, I knew Jack Kennedy. I mean, it was like unbelievable, right? What did he do? Do you know what he did? He looked down. Like a beaten, broken man. Mondale? No, he laughed. Like, very important. Body language.
Mondale got crushed.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. That's it. Oh, I'm glad you said that. So, the first speech you saw was Reagan giving a speech for Barry Goldwater. Barry Goldwater lost 48 out of 50 states. Did you know that? Reagan and Goldwater essentially believe the same platform, right? Reagan was campaigning for. In 1984, Reagan won 48 or 49. 49 out of 50 states.
In Minnesota was this close.
Yep. Only because Mondale was from Minnesota, right? The proof is you can sell. Our ideas are right. Conservative ideas are right. You just have to communicate them correctly. And when you do, boom. That's not over. We just don't communicate them right. Reagan did. And look what happened. Mondale, Barry Goldwater clearly didn't. Another example of use of good humor.
Oh. This one is.
We are here in the middle hour of our grief. So many have suffered so great a loss, and today we express our nation's sorrow. We come before God to pray for the missing and the dead, and for those who love them. On Tuesday, our country was attacked with deliberate and massive cruelty. We have seen the images of fire and ashes and bent steel. Now come the names. The list of casualties we are only beginning to read. They're the names of men and women who began their day at a desk or in an airport, busy with life. They're the names of people who faced death and in their last moments called home to say, be brave, and I love you. They're the names of passengers who defied their murderers and prevented the murder of others on the ground. They're the names of men.
Okay, obviously not humor. That was so you all know what that speech was. It's an 8-minute speech, but it's when a president is. His speech it's slow, it's deliberate, it's contemplative. His tone matches the mood of the nation of the moment. Now, here's a similar one with Ronald Reagan.
Ladies and gentlemen, I plan to speak to you tonight and report on the State of the Union. The events of earlier today have led me to change those plans. Today is a day for mourning and remembering. Nancy and I are pained to the core of the tragedy of the Shuttle Challenger. We know we share this pain with all the people of our country. This is truly a national loss. 19 years ago, almost to the day, we lost 3 astronauts in a terrible accident on the ground. But we've never lost an astronaut in flight. We've never had a tragedy like this. And perhaps we've forgotten the courage it took for the crew of the shuttle. But they, the Challenger 7, were aware of the dangers, overcame them, and did their jobs brilliantly. We mourn 7 heroes: Michael Smith, Dick Scobie, Judith Resnick, Ronald McNair, Ellison Onizuka, Gregory Jarvis, and Kristen McAuliffe. We mourn their loss as a nation together. The families of the 7, we cannot bear as you do the full impact of this tragedy. But we feel the loss, and we're thinking about you so very much. Your loved ones were daring and brave, and they had that special grace, that special spirit that says, give me a challenge, and I'll meet it with joy. They had a hunger to explore the universe and discover its truths. They wished to serve, and they did. They served all of us. We've grown used to wonders in this century. It's hard to dazzle us. But for 25 years, the United States space program has been doing just that. We've grown used to the idea of space, and perhaps we forget that we've only just begun. We're still pioneers. They, the members of the Challenger crew, were pioneers. And I want to say something to the school children of America who are watching the live coverage of the shuttle's takeoff. I know it's hard to understand, but sometimes painful things like this happen. It's all part of the process of exploration and discovery. It's all part of taking a chance at expanding man's horizons. The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave. The Challenger crew was pulling us into the future, and we'll continue to follow. I've always had great.
Remarkable that Reagan took a moment to speak to the school children about that day. This is my last slide, and then I want to invite a couple of people who volunteer to address you all, learning all the skills we learned today. So we'll do that. But remember, top 10 mistakes of speech making is coming on stage with low energy. The language and material is boring. You've not made it interesting. Again, I think you can make any topic interesting. That you're stiff or wooden. You haven't learned to use your body language. You break out of yourself and to be comfortable. Your speech is not authentic. That your perfectionism has led you to self-sabotage. That your body language doesn't match the content. You sound like an insider. You speak like old Washington, D.C. inside the Beltway. We speak differently here. And the rest of the country speaks about things normal. We have a weird language. So don't do that. Not relatable. Failure to use silence effectively. To that uncomfortable moment where I'm asking you to think about what I just said, and I'm just going to be quiet and let you contemplate it. Failure to involve the audience, too intellectual. Failure to make eye contact. That's a big one. And so it's important to look around your audience and then grab their eyes and look at them directly. And it can be uncomfortable, but you know what? Make it uncomfortable. So practice this. Do this on the train. Just like stare at somebody until they freak out. No, don't do that. I used to do this with Gingrich on the plane, though. He would sit across from me, and I would stare. He'd stare at me, and I'd say, "Okay, it's on." And I would just stare at him until he looked away, and it would last a long, uncomfortable time. But it's good practice to be uncomfortable. But get used to connecting with your audience. Eye contact is important. Don't talk here to the audience. There's no one over there. There's no one down here. There's no one behind you. They're out there. Engage them. Okay? And finally, failure to use humor or being unprepared. Having said all that, can I get, who should I ask to come on stage? Who's ready? I have James, Manga, Freddie, and Maria. Who is ready and who wants to volunteer to come up first? Freddie's ready. All right.
So we ran a little late, so we could try to keep these to about a 2-minute mark.
Okay, so here are the rules. Thank you for coming up. Thank you for making yourself vulnerable. So here's some things that I'd like you to put into practice. You come up, of course, introduce yourself, because some people may not know your name. Delivery, be a little provocative. It's going to be 2 minutes. At the 1:45, I'm going to ask you to wrap. Don't be startled by that. Just finish your remarks. And two. Welcome to the stage. Here you go.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Freddie Burgos, and I'm running for chairman of the 11th Congressional District Republican Committee. And when elected, we shall campaign to expose Jerry Conley and the damage he has done to our community and this nation. And we will campaign to promote America First foreign and domestic policies and explain why those policies are the best policies for our families and the future. And how do we plan to do this? We plan to do this through events, protests, and through the media. And it is the same formula that the conservative movement has been doing in Northern Virginia for the past year and a half with fantastic success. And some of you in here have been in those campaigns with me shoulder to shoulder. And you know that I had been part of organizing those events as well. It is one thing that has to happen is that we reach out to as many people as possible and to sell that message. And I am fluent in Spanish. It's my first language. I've been interviewed more than 40 times by Spanish language media, Univision, Telemundo, CNN Español. And why is that important? Because the second most spoken language in the state of Virginia, and especially where we live, is Spanish. And if we're gonna advance that's a one way to do it. Now, Jerry Conley, he's been our congressman for 14 years. He's won 7 elections in a row. 7 elections in a row. This should make it crystal clear to everyone in this room that the leadership that we've had, the men of talk, the men of delay and of convention, they have failed us. They have failed us. It is time that we support leadership and a movement that will say, we shall go forward into action. And a man of action I've been for 14 years for this party, for the conservative movement. Now, I'm going to close with this. All of you in here are here for one reason only, because you love this country, you see it falling apart, and you want to do something about it.
Rap.
And you want to do something about it. So all of you in here have the same fighting spirit as the founders of this country. The difference is they had greater adversity than we do. So I believe that Fairfax County isn't finished, the 11th isn't dead, and I believe that with our fight and united behind a new leadership and a new policy of action, that we shall triumph. And on May 7th, I'm asking for your vote for chairman. You have to sign up before February 26th. You have to be a delegate to that convention. So that on May 7th, let's make it loud and clear to the GOP establishment of Fairfax County and Virginia that we are the people and we've had enough, and that we are ready for Freddie. Thank you.
All right. Okay, who's that? Who else is next? And
Jim, I'm Jim or
Jim.
James.
Okay, Jim. Same deal.
Thank you.
Introduce yourself.
All right.
Keep it to 2 minutes.
All right.
Be good.
All right.
Make
I'll
me
give it my
proud.
best. I'll give it my best. I thought that was a great speech. I'm the man that's going to be Jerry Connolly, so I'll be looking for your vote. I'm running for representative in the 11th district. Think I need this or?
Yeah.
Okay. That's on. Okay. So I'm running for Congress. A little background, my name's Jim Miles. I come from Essexville, Michigan, born and raised there. And I went to Central Michigan University, a degree in political science, speech and public communication. And then I was all set to go to Cooley Law School there in Lansing, and sure enough, life changed. 6 months later, I was in the Air Force, and I was training to be a pilot. And that reminded me of the Reagan snippet there. I was signing out at the supervisor flying desk when the when the Challenger went up. I still get a little bit. And the thing blew up, and all the pilots and student pilots were all there. And anyway, it was a real tragedy for America. But after that, I served 6 years. In 1990, I went to law school at the University of San Diego School of Law. And then I worked in private practice in LA for a little bit. Ended up in the Social Security Administration, 95, in Chula Vista, California. I had a 20-plus year career. I was a claims representative. I took retirement claims from real people, different languages, used translators often, in great experience. I moved on, I became an attorney. And after that, then I became a manager, and I learned, I had a lot of training in conflict management, dealing with diverse groups and managing difficult people, and that's still a challenge today. After that, I became an administrative law judge, and I heard, thousands of claims in Social Security, mostly disability, people with, a lot of them cancer, back problems, you heard the whole gamut. And then after that, I transitioned to Medicare, and hearing Medicare cases, and to me, the worst one's when someone calls an ambulance for somebody and they take them to the hospital and then Medicare doesn't pay for it. You know who has to pay for it? The person that got the ambulance, right, even if they didn't call it. And I don't know, I just hated those cases the most, but I heard a couple thousand of those. So anyways, I look here, I'm trying to represent the 11th. I think I can beat Jerry Connolly. I mean, I'm a veteran. I can relate to the military and their families. I was a federal government worker for over 25 years. I can relate to federal workers, and I think as a party we need to recognize most of them really work really hard. And I don't think we've done a good job of recognizing what our federal workers do. And lastly, as a judge, I have so much experience in Social Security and Medicare. And I'm sure everybody in this room maybe is on benefits. You all look pretty young, but you probably got family members, or you all know people that rely on Social Security or Medicare benefits, and they are so critical to our average Americans. So I think I bring that whole pot, and I'm a very staunch conservative. So I believe in limited government, I believe in free markets, faith, family, personal responsibility, and we also need to share and take care of those really in need. So that's what I bring to the table. I really hope to earn your votes in the 11th district, and we'll take Jerry Connolly out and return it to Republican hands, the 11th district. Thank you, everybody.
Who's next? I want to mention that Jim's voice carries very well, and so you had no problem hearing him, I'm sure. But one thing is, when you have a microphone, there are different kinds of microphones. This microphone does not work if I hold it here. It will only work. It's called a unidirectional, one direction. Unidirectional microphone, I have to literally speak right into it, as opposed to an omnidirectional microphone where I could speak like that. Okay, just technical. So, but it's important for people to hear you. I heard you fine. I think everybody heard you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, welcome. 2 minutes.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. Yes, we had a wonderful session with Rick. Now, let's come back to our federal races. I'm Manga Anantatmula. And can you all pronounce my last name? Anantatmula. See, you didn't do it. I have an accent. People say I have an accent. That's why I pronounce my name absolutely perfectly. Anantatmula. So, yeah, so having an accent is not a bad thing. So let's come back to our races. Why am I running for Congress? We need to beat Jerry Connolly, who has been an incumbent and forgot what he was supposed to provide for his constituents. We all know why we are for what we are fighting for. Parental rights, school choice, public safety. We all know those are the most important things that we are lacking today as community and as his constituents. But nothing was paid attention to what we want. We need to get this man out of the office. Now the question is, who are you going to think is the right person to be elected to the office replacing Jerry Connolly? A little background about myself. I'm a mother of a lieutenant commander in Navy. He went into Navy as NROTC when he was 17. So uncommon for an Indian community. We let him go. We realized, as citizens of this United States of America, it's not to take, it's about to give. Let me give a quick anecdote of my life. When I was a 3 or 4 years old girl, I was raised in India, and electricity was always an issue. And what happens? My father bought a block of ice every day so that we had some ice to drink some cold water. One such occasion, I brought a spatula from the kitchen. I started breaking. I couldn't break it. After a while, I started crying. My father, all this time, he was sitting in the chair watching me hit the block. When I started crying, he came up to me, sat by me, put me on his lap, and asked me, "Why are you crying?" I said, "I can't break this ice." Now he tells me, "Okay, let's do it. Look at that ice block. You made several trips. Good job. But then, you didn't find the right spot to hit it. You were all over the place. You need to start hitting it in that one spot and keep hitting it till you got it." I was very excited. I was running into the kitchen. He said, "Come back. Where are you going?" I said, "I want to bring more tools, like the tortilla roller." He said, "No. You picked a spatula to hit it, and you're good. But keep using it and keep hitting it until it disintegrates. There is nothing that doesn't break. You keep at it. Keep at it." I was still sitting in my father's lap and kept hitting it. He taught me how to analyze a weak spot. I picked an edge and I started hitting it. What happens after a few hits? The ice broke and I had my piece of ice to drink the water. I am the one who will persist. I ran in 2020 and I broke 8 years of record in terms of getting highest votes after 13 years.
Okay.
I can do it and I am your candidate.
Thank you. And is Maria Martin here? You are here. Excellent.
Should I make the new rhyme? My name is Maria Martin. I have announced my race for the 23rd district because we don't want to get on the way of what is going on right now with all our candidates for 2022. As you may know, Virginia has experienced a change in districts all over, such as the House of Delegates, the Congressional District, also the Magisterial, and the Senate districts. So right now, my new district is the 23rd, which has about 85,000 people in this new district, with about 55,000 eligible voters, and white being the largest percentage, almost 80%, following the Hispanics, blacks, and other minorities. In 2019, I heard our former governor, Rob Northam, saying during an interview, he said, we are going to put the child comfortable and then we are going to turn our backs and see what they decide, the parents and the physicians, if they should leave or not. When I heard that in the radio, I thought, we cannot do this to the United States. And I was either going to stay at home and complain about it or do something about it. So I decided to do something about it. I went and I found out that running for the House of Delegates was going to impact the laws that we have in Virginia. And I said, well, that is what I want to do. During that time, my district was the 52nd. And I decided to file my papers and run on that first thing that inspired me. And I said, because when I heard the governor said that about a child, the life of a child, and a scripture from the Bible came that says, from the mouth of the babes and those that nurse, he has founded our strength. And I thought, if we do not take care of the lives of these little ones, then these walls, this fortress, this strength is going to fall, and there will not be a difference between our country with any other country in the world. I'm sorry. I ran in these three main points: education, lower taxes, which is going to help our small businesses and families, and community safety. And I still want, and I stand for these main issues that impact our whole communities. Thank you for your attention, and I appreciate the Leadership Institute for putting this together.
Hi, I'm Susan Cox. I'm a teacher, wife, and mother, and a concerned citizen. I think it's important to be involved with your community because one person can make a difference. At the last school board meeting, I noticed many speakers advocate for the teaching of history. They want the good, the bad, and the ugly taught. If the Loudoun County School Board is not doing this, then what are they doing? It's time to demand accountability and a transparent curriculum. I'm tired of hearing one group falsely claim that another group of parents doesn't want history taught. Let's put that to rest. What is not wanted is indoctrination and segregation. What is not wanted is judgment based on skin color, heritage, sex, religion, stereotypes, and such. What is not wanted is bullying and cover-ups. Can't we all agree on this? We all want our children to have a great and safe education, and we may have different ideas on what this means. This is why a one-size-fits-all doesn't work. The governor of Virginia knows this, and he values the input of parents. It's time this school board values the input of parents. Thank you.
Okay. I like that. I didn't have to laugh here. All right. Next up.
I'm gonna wing it, okay? So.
All right. I hate the sound of that, but okay.
I hate the sound of it.
That's my practice for my school board.
Just like, can I hold it up if I walk around?
Yeah.
Can I do this?
You're on.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm here. All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Harry Jackson. I'm going to be running for school district in Draysville in 2023. I'm also the African American liaison for the Fairfax GOP. And I can tell you a little bit of a story about that and how I'm going to be really the worst enemy of the Democratic Party. And I'll tell you a little about my journey and how I got involved and why I'm passionate about education. Because education is one of those things, along with crime, that impacts our property values. For most of us, that's our most valuable asset. And what we've seen in Fairfax County is our school board has been gradually running our education system right into the ground. And they've confused it with their social justice initiatives. We've seen a lot of toxic behaviors, such as critical race theory, the praxis of it, bringing in controversial gender policies for access to the bathroom where our children are no longer safe. These don't resonate with most voters. And let's talk about social justice. So a little bit about my background. I'm currently the vice president of the Fairfax County Association for the Gifted. I also work with the Black Student Fund. We actually work with getting Black and Hispanic children into independent schools, gifted learners, advanced learners. Well, the left, they all seem to want to just take advanced education and drive it right to the ground. Get rid of it. Virginia Mathematics Pathway Initiative, for example. Then we have TJ, nation's #1 high school. Last 2 years in a row. Oh, by the way, I was the first Black president of TJ PTSA. And I got voted out by a bunch of white, woke, radical leftists. And to make things even funnier, this is why I decided to become the African American liaison in Fairfax County, because I actually got kicked out of an NAACP meeting. But to tell you this, I was only one of 3 African Americans in that meeting. Wow. Yes, Fairfax NAACP, 95% white and woke. So I decided I'm going to do something. I've been going to all the Black churches. I've been going to the barbershops. I have former presidents of the NAACP coming up to me saying, Harry, you're right. We are for school choice. We do not agree with their message. And that's why I'm running. And that's why I'm willing to help all of you, the candidates, are running. They think they own the voice of the Black community, and they use that platform of the NAACP to win over moderate white voters. And I'm here to do one thing, to take that piece of candy away from them. I'm Harry Jackson, and I'm the Democrats' worst nightmare.
Okay, wow, that was terrific. You all rose to the occasion. You must have been paying attention in class. I'm here to. I have a few more minutes here, and I'd love to take your questions and fire away. Any questions? Yes.
Are you going to kind of make any comments about our participation or anybody?
It's a good question.
Feedback.
I'll say this: if you would like to contact me about your performance today, Ryan will give you my. I'm not going to critique people publicly here, and I'll tell you why. Normally I would, but these people are running for real offices, and some are running against each other. Okay? And I would say this in all sincerity, they all did a terrific job. It takes a lot of guts to come up and make a pitch. If they were just pretend running, I would critique them. But they're like, there's real stakes here. You guys are like all real voters, and and I don't want to detract from the opportunity that they were given. So I'm not going to make public comments, I'd be happy to offer my constructive advice to anyone. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Is that fair, everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
I don't have a question, but I just was wondering if I could kind of practice my speech.
How long is your speech?
Just 1 minute.
Okay, let's do 1 minute. I'm happy to let you do it, and then we'll get back to questions.
Hard 1 minute though.
But we gotta wrap it up.
Rick has been a good sport. We had him till 6 and he's staying an extra few minutes. So.
Thank you.
All yours.
Hi, I'm Monica Carpio. I'm running for the 8th district. I'm running against Don Beyer because I don't really feel represented by him. I feel as if he's not in touch with reality. He's one of the wealthiest members in Congress right now, and he's lost touch with the people. I'm running because I believe in letting the markets work by themselves. I'm an economist, and I believe in the markets, the invisible hand. I believe in less taxation. Today, many of us are going through a really hard time, high gas prices, school closures. I feel it's time for someone to just, take a stand and just go for it. I believe in a strong military. My husband was in Iraq in 2006, and he was with the I-7 battalion as a defense contractor. He was in Al-Qaim and Husayba, and he was right at the border with Syria, where 10 Marines lost their lives. He was deployed with the Marines, working in counter-IED projects. And I feel as if the United States is going to stay a strong country with a super strong defense budget. So we cannot let that go. And we have to have border control for obvious reasons. This is not, the 1960s or 1970s. Things have changed. So we need to control illegal immigration. We need to control the coronavirus. We need to let people just make their own decisions, stop with the controlling of what people can do. It's time to unmask our children, and it's time to let business owners decide for themselves how they want to live their lives. It's time to stop living in fear. And I would like to say that Don Beyer will not be your only choice this November. You're going to have other choices, and it's not just going to be the same old choice. So hopefully you can look at my information online. It's monicacarpio.com, and you can volunteer for my campaign or make a donation, because I am not going to go anywhere. Right now I'm looking for $5,000 by next week, so maybe you can make a small donation. However, if I don't get those $5,000, which would be really great if I could from any PAC out there, I will run as an independent. So I'm not going to go anywhere. Okay, thanks, bye.
Thank you. Very quickly, any extra questions for Rick? I'll hand you the microphone so folks can hear you. Here you are.
Rick, thank you very much for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you so much.
I only have one comment. I would suggest that many of you who are trying to learn how to speak publicly, I would recommend that you join something called Toastmasters, because they will be absolutely ruthless in critiquing your speeches, and they will train you to do a 2-minute speech, a humorous speech, a serious speech. And more than that, you will not have a friendly audience. Tonight, everybody who's come up to practice has had a friendly audience. Whether you did well or poorly, or whatever Rick says, So I recommend that because if you're going to practice with people that are not your friends. Practice with people who will honestly critique you. Because in Toastmasters, it is a requirement. And they will ask you, get up, 2 minutes, right away. It's called, instantaneous speech. Or, there's a program, and it's not very expensive, and you will get to meet all sorts of people who may or may not be as aligned as you are politically. So that's just a recommendation. Think about it. I was a Toastmaster, so I know that. But anyway,
That's all I have to say. Thank you so much, Rick. Thank you. We do here, like Toastmasters, like we were saying, and I think it was very good advice. The advanced speaking class, and Brian, I'm nice, right?
Mostly. He's nice enough, but still firm to give you real critiques that are helpful to improving your public speaking.
I'm not nice. I'm brutal. Because of what you said is very important, but I don't want. I explain why I'm not doing that here, but because it's detracting to real people with real things at stake here, and I don't want to interfere with that. But I'd be delighted to help you. Any other questions? Yes.
What kind of book do you recommend us to brushing on after to
On
continue
Rhetoric.
part of?
The best book ever written was
Can you repeat
3,000
again?
years ago.
Can you repeat again?
On Rhetoric.
Okay, thank you.
It has not been surpassed. Also, Lincoln and Cooper Union, anything by Ron White in the study of Lincoln's speeches, and then there's plenty of TED Talks. There's plenty of things to avail yourself of. But again, as I say, actually putting yourself forward and speaking in public is the best way you will get better. Last question.
Yes, sir. My question is, when choosing a content versus delivery, let's say your content isn't that great and your delivery is good, does that help persuade the audience?
Why isn't your content great?
So, for example, let's say if you have not done good research on a topic.
Then you shouldn't be on the stage. You should. You do this service to your audience for not being prepared. You need to be prepared. Like, so in my smaller training class, advanced class, we only have like maybe 6 students, like 8, maybe 8 at the most. And I do exactly what the gentleman was saying. You get up for 2 minutes, and we also do a lot of fun exercises, but it puts people on the spot. But that's not how you prepare for a speech. That's to help you overcome a lot of bad habits and make you a better speaker. But a great speech requires preparation, enormous thought, preparation, and content. So I can't answer your question because I'm not going to accept that you're going to get on stage with bad content.
Got it.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a contact information?
I'm Rick W. Tyler at Gmail.
RickW.com.
Can we get a round of applause for Rick, please?
Did everybody enjoy the workshop today?
Yes.
Thanks a lot for Rick for your really good presentation, and then we hope like next time we can invite you to come back again.
I'd be honored.
Thank you.
A great audience.
Yes, thank you, Rick. And then again, another applause for Rick for doing a really good presentation. So thank you everybody again. So the next one we will do is like we have a group photo of everybody. If we can over here, and then we have some sign with the amen if you want to hold on the sign. And after that, we will have a dinner, and again provided by the Leadership Institute. So thank you again.
Thank you.